The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before the HSS Eternal Dawn, broken only by the distant glitter of stars and the sleek forms of alien vessels that moved like predatory fish through the darkness. Admiral Li Jinwu stood motionless on the bridge, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he studied the holographic display with careful attention. The blue glow of the tactical screens cast shadows across his face, highlighting the subtle signs of age that marked his features. The Recon Confederation scout ships circled the human fleet like curious sharks, their crystalline hulls catching and reflecting starlight in rainbow patterns. Their vessels were beautiful things of artistry and advanced engineering, all sweeping lines and translucent surfaces that seemed to defy the laws of physics. In contrast, the human ships appeared almost shameful, their hulls marked with patches of corrosion and wear from centuries of space travel. Commander Park Harry sat at her station, her fingers moving with practiced efficiency across the tactical console. The soft beeping of scanning alerts filled the air as she monitored the Rukan's ongoing analysis of their fleet. A slight frown crossed her face as she decoded their latest transmission. "They're scanning us again, Admiral," she reported, her voice carrying a note of controlled irritation. "Their communication channels are quite vocal about their opinions of our fleet. They're calling us space junk and relics of a forgotten age. Rather creative with their insults, I must say." Jinwu's lips curved into a small smile, the expression making the corners of his eyes crinkle. "Let them have their fun, Commander. Their mockery is our shield, as it has been for 300 years. He stepped closer to the main viewport, watching as another Recon vessel made a particularly close pass. The alien ship's sensors were practically buzzing with activity, probing every inch of the Eternal Dawn's exterior. Their arrogance was almost amusing. They were so certain of their technological superiority that they never thought to look deeper than the surface. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, maintaining the careful illusion that had kept them safe for generations. 30 ships made up their fleet, 30 vessels that had fled Earth during the Great Exodus when humanity realized they needed to seek their fortune among the stars. While other human fleets had chosen to showcase their advancement and power, this group had taken a different approach. Lieutenant Kim Ta-young monitored the environmental systems, making minute adjustments to maintain the appearance of a struggling life support system. In reality, the air on the Eternal Dawn was cleaner than anything found planetside, but the occasional wheeze and sputter of the vents helped sell their facade of antiquated technology. "Signal from the New Horizon." "Sir," reported Communications Officer Yoon Jae-dun. "Captain Choi reports their rust patches are responding perfectly to the scans. The Recon are completely fooled by the metamaterial coating." Jinwu nodded in satisfaction. The rust that marked their ships was actually one of humanity's greatest achievements, a revolutionary metamaterial that could absorb and deflect scans while housing some of their most advanced defensive systems. It had taken decades to perfect, but the result was worth every moment of research and development. Through the viewport, he could see more of their fleet, the Hope's Journey, the Starweaver, the Phoenix Dawn. Each ship carefully maintained to look like it was barely holding together. Their hulls told false stories of desperate repairs and ancient patches, of a people struggling to keep their technology functioning across the centuries. "Sir," Commander Park called out, her voice carrying a note of amusement. "They're sending detailed reports back to their command. According to their analysis, our ship's hull integrity is at 40%. Our weapon systems are charmingly obsolete, and they estimate our faster-than-light capabilities are 3 generations behind their current technology." "Excellent," Jinwu responded, turning to face his crew. "That's exactly what we want them to think. Our ancestors learned the hard way that displaying power only invites challenge, but appearing weak." He paused, his eyes twinkling. "Well, that invites something far more useful: underestimation." The bridge crew shared knowing looks. They were all proud of their role in maintaining this deception, this careful dance that had kept them safe and successful for centuries. While other human fleets engaged in shows of force and technological one-upmanship with alien races, their fleet had carved out a peaceful existence in this sector of space, protected by their apparent weakness. Through another window, Jin Woo watched as one of the Rican scouts made a particularly close pass by the medical frigate Mercy's Light. The alien vessel's sensors would be detecting outdated medical equipment and basic life support systems. They would have no way of knowing that the ship actually housed some of the most advanced medical technology in known space, capable of treating injuries and illnesses that most races considered fatal. "Admiral," Commander Park spoke up again. "They're preparing to send a formal communication. It seems they've seen enough to make their judgment." "Very well," Jin Woo replied, straightening his uniform. "Let's give them the performance they expect. Lieutenant Yoon, add some static to the transmission. Engineer Song, perhaps a few power fluctuations would be appropriate." The crew moved to their tasks with practiced ease. By the time the Rican transmission came through, the bridge of the Eternal Dawn appeared to be struggling with basic communication systems, screens flickering and audio cutting in and out in a carefully orchestrated display of technological inadequacy. As Jin Woo prepared to answer the transmission, he caught his reflection in a darkened screen. His uniform, while clean, was cut in an intentionally outdated style, and the insignia on his collar was designed to appear crude compared to the sophisticated symbols of the Rican Confederation. Every detail, from the largest ship in their fleet to the smallest button on a uniform, had been carefully chosen to reinforce their image as survivors from a less advanced age. The Rican would never know that they were actually scanning one of the most sophisticated fleets in known space. They would never realize that beneath the false rust and apparent decay lay technology that would make their advanced systems look primitive in comparison. And that was exactly how Admiral Lee Jinwoo and his crew wanted it. After all, there was power in being underestimated. There was safety in being overlooked. And as the human fleet had learned over 3 centuries of space travel, sometimes the best defense was to convince your potential adversaries that you weren't worth the effort of attacking in the first place. The Crystal Ascendant emerged from faster-than-light travel in a burst of rainbow light, its crystalline structure casting prismatic patterns across the worn hull of the Eternal Dawn. The Rican flagship was a masterpiece of alien engineering, nearly twice the size of the human vessels, with sweeping spires and graceful curves that made it look more like a work of art than a spacecraft. Ambassador Kim Do-yeon smoothed down her intentionally simple diplomatic robes as she waited in the docking bay. The bay itself had been carefully prepared for this meeting, with certain systems running at reduced power and others showing signs of careful patching. Old-style manual safety locks lined the walls, their paint deliberately chipped and worn. Behind her, Chief Engineer Song Jae-ho ran a final check on the bay's atmospheric systems, making them wheeze just enough to suggest age without risking actual malfunction. Like Do-yeon, his uniform was clean but dated, with subtle signs of wear that had been artfully added by the fleet's fabrication units. The Rican shuttle that approached their docking bay was small but elegant, its crystal hull refracting light in complex patterns. Do-yeon watched through the observation window as it moved with precise grace through the docking procedure, its pilots likely shocked by the primitive magnetic guidance system they were required to use. "Everything is prepared, Ambassador," Jae-ho reported quietly. "The rust patches are responding perfectly to their scans, and all our outdated systems are functioning exactly as they should." His eyes twinkled with suppressed mirth as he emphasized the word outdated. Do-yeon nodded, maintaining her diplomatic composure. "Remember, everyone, we are grateful for their interest in our well-being. We are humble, we are eager to learn, and above all, we are harmless." The docking bay crew took their positions, each one playing their part in the carefully crafted illusion. Maintenance workers made a show of checking ancient-looking pressure gauges. Security personnel carried simple projectile weapons instead of the advanced energy weapons hidden beneath their stations. With a final hiss of pressurization, the Rican shuttle settled onto the docking bay floor. Its crystal hull caught the bay's dim lighting, making it seem to glow from within. The contrast between the shuttle and its surroundings could not have been more striking or more intentional. The shuttle's door melted away in a display of advanced molecular manipulation, revealing Supreme Commander Wraith and his delegation. The Recon were tall, their skin having a slight crystalline quality that matched their technology. They wore uniforms that seemed to shift and flow with their movements, displaying their technological superiority with every step. Rith's eyes swept the docking bay, taking in every detail of its apparent age and wear. His expression shifted between pity and disdain as he approached Du Yun and her welcoming party. "Your ships," he spoke, his translator converting his crystalline language into somewhat stilted human speech. "They require significant technological upgrading. We offer our protection and guidance." His tone carried the weight of assumed superiority, like an adult addressing a child. Du Yun bowed deeply, a gesture that hid her smile. "We are honored by your generous offer, Supreme Commander. Our humble fleet has served us well these many years, though we acknowledge its limitations." Behind her, she could sense Jiho struggling to maintain his composure. The rust that so concerned their visitors was actually one of humanity's greatest achievements, a metamaterial that could change its properties on command, housing complex defense systems while appearing to be nothing more than decay. Even now, it was actively analyzing the Rukin scanning attempts, feeding them exactly the data they expected to find. "Please, allow us to show you our vessel," Du Yun continued, gesturing toward the deliberately worn corridor that led to the ship's interior. "While our technology may seem primitive to your advanced eyes, we maintain it as best we can." The Recon delegation followed, their crystalline forms seeming to illuminate the dimly lit corridors. Du Yun led them through a carefully planned route, showing them exactly what they expected to see. Outdated control systems, simplified computer interfaces, and power conduits that appeared to be barely holding together. At each stop, Rith and his advisors exchanged knowing looks. They offered suggestions for improvements, each one carefully noted by Du Yun with apparent gratitude. They never noticed how the ship's real systems watched their every move, analyzing their technology and defense capabilities, even as they believed they were the ones conducting the examination. "Your life support systems are particularly concerning," one of Rith's technical advisors noted, watching a deliberately placed vapor leak. "The efficiency rating must be terrible." "We manage," Du Yun replied humbly. In truth, the Eternal Dawn's environmental systems were so advanced they could maintain perfect conditions, even in the heart of a solar storm, but that was not something their visitors needed to know. As they toured the ship, Du Yun caught glimpses of her crew maintaining their roles perfectly. Engineers made a show of checking manual gauges instead of using their neural interfaces. Navigation officers plotted courses on physical star charts rather than using their quantum computing systems. Every detail reinforced the image of a primitive but surviving civilization. The tour ended in a conference room that had been specially prepared for the meeting. The chairs were slightly uncomfortable, the lighting was uneven, and the display screen showed visible scan lines, all carefully crafted imperfections. "We will, of course, need to conduct a more thorough analysis of your fleet's needs," Wraith announced as they settled into their seats. "The process of upgrading your technology to acceptable standards will take time, but the Recon Confederation is generous with primitive species showing potential." "We are grateful for your interest in our welfare," Du Yun responded, bowing again. She saw no need to mention the quantum cores hidden behind a room's worn panels, or the fact that their primitive fleet could outmaneuver and outfight the Crystal Ascendant without breaking a sweat. After all, appearing weak while being strong was an art humanity had perfected over centuries of space travel. And as Du Yun listened to the Rukin's patronizing plans for uplifting her people, she could not help but appreciate the irony of their situation. Sometimes, the best way to hide strength was behind a carefully crafted illusion of weakness. Deep within the Eternal Dawn's Cyber Operations Center, Lieutenant Kang Mei watched streams of data flow across her holographic displays. The room hummed with the gentle pulse of quantum processors, hidden behind panels that appeared outdated and worn to any outside observer. Her fingers danced through the air, directing the ship's cyber defenses with practiced ease as the recon probes grew more aggressive. The alien scanning attempts glowed red in her visualization matrix, each one seeking weaknesses, each one being carefully fed false data by the deception protocols. Mireille allowed herself a small smile as another probe was smoothly diverted, shown only what they wanted it to see. Their fifth attempt at deep scanning in the last hour, she reported to Admiral Jinwoo, who stood quietly observing the data streams. They're focusing on our engine core now. The deception protocols are feeding them exactly what they expect, an outdated fusion drive barely maintaining stability. Jinwoo nodded, watching the complex dance of code and countercode playing out before them. And the quantum core? Completely hidden, sir. To their scans, it appears to be nothing more than a standard power distribution node. They're not even looking twice at it. Mireille's fingers traced a pattern in the air, bringing up a new set of data streams. Their scanning technology is impressive, but they're limited by their own assumptions. They see what they expect to see. The truth about their ships would have astonished the Ryukan. Each vessel in the human fleet carried technology that had evolved far beyond conventional understanding. The quantum cores that powered their ships weren't just advanced. They represented a fundamental leap in human engineering, developed over centuries of isolated space travel. Behind Mireille, her team of cyber specialists maintained the intricate web of deception that protected the fleet. Their workstations appeared simple and outdated, with physical keyboards and flickering screens, but these were merely covers for the neural interfaces they actually used to communicate with the ship's systems. They're launching another scan, called out Officer Park Sungmin from his station. This one's using a crystalline frequency we haven't seen before. Mireille's hands moved quickly, adjusting their defenses. Interesting approach, but still predictable. Adapting deception protocols now. The new scan washed over their systems, and like all the others, it found exactly what the humans wanted it to find. The Cyber Operations Center itself was a testament to their technological advancement. While appearing to be a simple computer room to outside scans, it was actually a quantum-encrypted space where the boundaries between digital and physical reality blurred. The team's neural interfaces allowed them to perceive and manipulate data in ways the Recon couldn't imagine. "Admiral," Mireille said, pulling up a new display, "I think you'll find this interesting. I've been analyzing their scanning patterns. They're not just looking for weaknesses, they're creating a detailed blueprint of our systems. I believe they're planning to offer us upgrades." Jinwoo chuckled softly. Upgrades to systems that are generations ahead of their own technology. The irony would be amusing if the stakes weren't so high. Each ship in their fleet carried similar hidden wonders. The Phoenix Dawn's primitive medical bay housed nanite regeneration chambers that could heal injuries in hours. The Starweaver's basic navigation system could plot courses through dimensions the Recon hadn't even discovered. The Hope's Journey's simple weapons array could disable a ship without firing a single shot. "Sir," called Officer Lee Junho from his monitoring station, "the Crystal Ascendant is initiating a Level 3 engineering scan of our power systems." "Let them look," Mireille responded, her fingers already adjusting the deception protocols. "Show them some power fluctuations in the secondary systems. Make them think we're struggling to maintain basic functions." The deception was multilayered and perfect in its execution. Even the code they used to hide their true capabilities was designed to appear primitive if discovered. Any attempt to breach their security would find what appeared to be simple encryption protocols, never revealing the quantum algorithms that actually protected their data. "Lieutenant," Jinwoo said, watching the data streams, "show me the compilation of their scanning attempts so far." Mireille brought up a comprehensive display showing every probe and scan the Recon had attempted. The pattern was clear. They were systematic and thorough, but their thoroughness was their weakness. They were so certain of finding primitive technology that they never looked for anything else. "They've scanned our hull composition 7 times," Myre noted, highlighting the relevant data. "Each time, they've confirmed that it's standard titanium alloy with significant corrosion. They haven't once questioned why that corroded hull maintains perfect structural integrity." The quantum cores at the heart of each ship continued their silent work, powering systems that defied conventional physics while appearing to be nothing more than outdated fusion reactors. The metamaterial that coated their hulls adapted and responded to each scan, maintaining their carefully crafted image of technological backwardness. "They're persistent," Myre reported, watching another scan attempt flash across her displays. "But our deception protocols are holding. They see exactly what we want them to see." She paused, bringing up a new data stream. "Though I have to admire their determination. They've tried frequencies and scanning methods I haven't seen before." "Document everything," Jinwoo ordered. "Every new scanning technique they attempt teaches us more about their capabilities. Knowledge, after all, flows both ways." The cyber operations team continued their work, maintaining the illusion that had kept them safe for centuries. Their true technology remained hidden, a testament to human ingenuity and the power of patience. As Myre watched another Recon scan pass harmlessly through their defenses, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Sometimes, the greatest strength lay not in showing power, but in knowing when to hide it. Tension filled the air on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn as the Recon flagship loomed in the main viewport. The Crystal Ascendant's crystalline hull had taken on a darker hue, reflecting its crew's shifting mood. What had begun as a diplomatic mission was rapidly turning into something far more dangerous. Supreme Commander Wraith's holographic image dominated the communications display, his crystalline features set in hard lines of frustration. The past weeks of scanning, analyzing, and attempting to help the human fleet had clearly worn his patience thin. "Your continued resistance to our guidance is unacceptable," Wraith declared, his translated voice carrying an edge of menace. "We have shown remarkable patience with your primitive fleet. That patience has limits." Admiral Jinwoo stood on the bridge, his posture relaxed despite the growing hostility. Behind him, Commander Park Harry's fingers moved quietly across her console, activating their defense systems while maintaining their appearance of obsolete technology. "The Recon Confederation cannot allow unregulated vessels to operate in this sector," Wraith continued. "Your fleet will submit to our authority and accept our oversight, or face immediate military action. You have 1 standard hour to comply." The bridge crew maintained their calm, each person playing their role perfectly. Engineer Song Jae-ho made a show of checking supposedly ancient system readouts while actually bringing their quantum shields to full power. Lieutenant Kang Myre appeared to struggle with a basic communications panel while using her neural interface to coordinate their cyber defenses. "You mistake our caution for weakness," Jinwoo replied evenly, "and our courtesy for submission. We decline your generous offer." Wraith's crystalline features darkened further. "You doom your people with your pride, Admiral. Look at your ships, they barely hold together. Do you truly believe you can resist the might of the Recon Confederation?" Around the Eternal Dawn, the rest of the human fleet maintained their positions. Their weathered hulls and apparent rust patches concealed weapons and defensive systems that hadn't even been tested in real combat. They had never needed to reveal them before. "This is your final warning," Wraith declared. "Submit, or we will be forced to demonstrate our power. Your outdated vessels cannot hope to withstand our advanced weaponry." Commander Park's hands continued their careful work as she reported quietly. "Defense grid fully activated, Admiral. All ships reporting ready status. They won't detect our preparations unless they look much closer than they have been." Jinwoo allowed himself a small smile. "Supreme Commander, we have maintained our presence in this sector for 3 centuries. We have survived countless challenges. Do not mistake our appearance for vulnerability." The bridge crew watched as Recon warships began to move into attack positions. Their crystalline hulls shifted colors, weapon ports becoming visible as they prepared for what they thought would be a simple show of force. "You had your chance for a peaceful resolution," Wraith said. "Now you will learn the price of defiance. Your primitive fleet will serve as an example to others who would reject Ryukan authority." "We are not as primitive as you believe," Jinwoo responded calmly. "And you are not the first to make this mistake." Commander Park's console showed 20 Ryukan warships moving to surround them. Each one was larger and seemingly more powerful than the human vessels they targeted. By all appearances, it was an overwhelming force facing a hopelessly outmatched opponent. "This is your final opportunity," Wraith declared. "Your fleet will submit to our authority, or we will open fire. You have 5 minutes to signal your surrender." Jinwoo straightened his intentionally worn uniform. "Supreme Commander, throughout human history, we have learned that appearances can be deceiving. You see what you expect to see: worn ships, outdated technology, a fleet barely maintaining its existence." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But you never asked why a fleet you consider primitive has survived independently for 3 centuries. You never questioned why we choose to maintain our aged appearance. You saw what you wanted to see, and now you make demands based on false assumptions. Your threats are meaningless," Wraith snapped. "Your weapons are obsolete. Your defenses are negligible. Your time is running out." The bridge crew continued their preparations, each person knowing their role in the coming conflict. They had trained for this possibility, though they had hoped to avoid it. "We decline your offer of submission," Jinwoo stated firmly. "We will defend ourselves if attacked. I suggest you reconsider your actions carefully." Wraith's image seemed to vibrate with anger. "Then you have chosen destruction. When this is over, we will tow your ruined ships back to our shipyards as trophies. Let this be a lesson to all who would defy the Confederation." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in momentary silence. Jinwoo turned to his crew, seeing determination in every face. "They see what they expect to see," he said quietly. "Let us show them how wrong their expectations are. All hands, prepare for combat. But remember, defensive actions only. We are not the aggressors here." Commander Park's voice was steady as she reported, "All ships signaling ready. Admiral, defense grid at full power, though it still appears inactive to their scans. They have no idea what they're about to face." Jinwoo nodded, watching as the Ryukan warships moved into their final attack positions. 3 centuries of hiding their true capabilities were about to end. He only hoped the Ryukan would learn from the experience, rather than force a confrontation that would reveal just how advanced human technology had become. "And so it begins," he said softly. "Let us hope they are wise enough to learn from their mistakes." Space lit up with brilliant energy as the Ryukan fleet opened fire. Their crystalline vessels glowed with power as they launched what they believed would be a devastating first strike. Energy beams and plasma bolts streaked across the void, aimed at the seemingly vulnerable human ships. Chief Engineer Song Jae-ho watched his displays with calm satisfaction as the attacks struck their hulls. What appeared to be patches of rust and decay absorbed the incoming fire without a trace of damage. The metamaterial coating, disguised as deterioration, converted the enemy weapons' energy into power for their own systems. "Defensive systems operating at optimal levels," Jae-ho reported from his station. "The metamaterial absorption rate is perfect. Their attacks are actually charging our secondary power banks." Admiral Jinwoo nodded, watching the tactical display as more Ryukan ships joined the attack. "Let them exhaust their initial fury. Show them only our defensive capabilities for now." The Ryukan ships pressed their attack, launching wave after wave of energy weapons. Their crystalline hulls pulsed with power as they poured more energy into their weapons, clearly frustrated by the lack of effect on their supposedly primitive targets. "Sir," Commander Park called out, "the Crystal Ascendant is moving to point-blank range. They appear to believe their weapons are simply failing to penetrate our hull at distance." "Let them come," Jinwoo replied. Maintain defensive posture only. Record everything for later analysis. The massive Recon flagship approached, its weapon ports blazing with energy. At close range, their sensors must have been showing impossible readings. Weapons that should have torn through basic hull plating were having no effect whatsoever. They're launching fighters, Lieutenant Kang reported from her station. 30 craft, armed with short-range energy weapons. They're attempting to find weak points in our hull. The small crystalline fighters darted around the human ships, their pilots growing increasingly desperate as their attacks proved futile. What looked like damaged plating and exposed systems were actually carefully crafted deceptions, each seemingly vulnerable point designed to absorb and redirect energy. Admiral, Commander Park spoke up. 3 of their destroyers are moving to surround the Hope's journey. They appear to be preparing for a concentrated attack. Jinwoo studied the tactical display for a moment. Very well. Time for a measured response. Target their weapon systems only. Show them enough to make them reconsider, but not enough to reveal our full capabilities. The Hope's journey, appearing just as worn and damaged as the rest of the human fleet, waited until the Recon destroyers were in position. As they prepared to fire, a barely visible pulse of energy emerged from the human ship's rust-covered hull. The energy wave struck all 3 destroyers simultaneously, temporarily overloading their weapon systems. Clean hits, reported Lieutenant Kang. Their weapons are offline, but all other systems remain functional. No casualties detected. The Recon fleet's attack faltered as they processed this unexpected development. Their sensors would be showing them something that should have been impossible: precise, targeted attacks from a ship that supposedly couldn't even maintain its own hull integrity. Message from Supreme Commander Rith, Lieutenant Kim announced. He's demanding to know how we're blocking their attacks. He's not being very diplomatic about it. No response necessary, Jinwoo said calmly. Our actions will speak clearly enough. The Recon pressed their attack with renewed determination, but now there was a note of desperation in their movements. They launched more fighters, tried different weapon frequencies, attempted to find any weakness in the human fleet's defenses. Sir, Commander Park reported, they're bringing in their heavy cruisers. Energy readings suggest they're preparing to use their main guns. Defensive positions only, Jinwoo ordered. Let them see that even their strongest weapons cannot harm us, but be ready to disable any ship that presents a serious threat. The Recon cruisers opened fire with weapons that could have destroyed a small moon. The energy beams struck the human ships directly and disappeared into the metamaterial coating without leaving a mark. The rust glowed briefly as it absorbed and redistributed the massive energy input. Power systems at 200% capacity, Jaiho reported with a slight smile. Their attacks are actually improving our combat readiness. The metamaterial is performing beyond specifications. Jinwoo watched as the Recon fleet's attacks grew increasingly erratic. Their carefully coordinated assault was falling apart as ship after ship failed to have any effect on their targets. The Crystal Ascendant hung back now, its sensors no doubt trying desperately to understand what they were facing. Admiral, Commander Park said, 2 of their destroyers are moving to attack the Starweaver. Their power readings suggest they're overcharging their weapons, a dangerous tactic. We can't allow them to risk their own crews, Jinwoo decided. Disable their primary power systems. Minimal force, maximum precision. The Starweaver responded with a series of precise energy pulses, each one striking exactly where needed to shut down the destroyer's power cores without causing any other damage. The Recon ships drifted to a stop, their crystalline hulls darkening as emergency systems took over. Both ships disabled, reported Lieutenant Kang. Life support and emergency power remain functional. No casualties. Their crews are shaken but unharmed. The battle, if it could even be called that, continued for several more minutes. The Recon tried every tactic they knew, but nothing could penetrate the human fleet's defenses, and each time they pressed too hard or risked their own crews, the human ships responded with precise, measured strikes that demonstrated their true capabilities without revealing their full power. Finally, the Crystal Ascendant's weapons fell silent. The remaining Riken ships pulled back, maintaining a defensive formation around their flagship. Their once proud fleet had been humbled without a single ship being destroyed or a single life being lost. "They're requesting communication," Lieutenant Kim announced. Jin Woo straightened his uniform. "Perhaps now they're ready to listen." "Open the channel." The time for hiding their true nature was past, but they had achieved their goal, demonstrating their power while showing restraint, proving their capabilities while avoiding unnecessary destruction. The real challenge would be what came next, helping the Riken understand just how badly they had misread the situation. The tension on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn could be cut with a knife. Admiral Jinwoo stood before the main viewport, watching the battered Riken fleet maintain their defensive formation. The time had come to show them the truth they had overlooked for so long. "Reveal Protocol Alpha," Jinwoo ordered, his voice carrying quiet authority. "Let them see what they've been facing all along." The transformation began slowly at first. Across the human fleet, the apparent rust that had disguised their ships for centuries began to move, flowing like quicksilver across their hulls. The metamaterial coating shifted and changed, revealing gleaming surfaces underneath that seemed to drink in starlight. Lieutenant Mirai monitored the process from her station, her fingers dancing across control surfaces that emerged from seemingly solid walls. All ships reporting synchronized transformation. The Riken sensors are going crazy trying to process what they're seeing. Hidden weapon ports appeared as sections of hull plating realigned themselves. Sensor arrays emerged from what had appeared to be ancient communication dishes. The entire fleet seemed to shed its age like an old skin, revealing the true nature of humanity's technological advancement. "Sir," Commander Park reported, "the Crystal Ascendant is broadcasting on all frequencies. They're demanding to know what's happening." "Let them watch," Jinwoo replied calmly. "Sometimes seeing is believing." The Eternal Dawn's bridge itself was transforming. Holographic displays replaced what had appeared to be crude screens. The worn control panels melted away, revealing neural interface stations that responded to thought as much as touch. Even the lighting changed, shifting from harsh fluorescent to a soft, efficient glow that seemed to come from the walls themselves. "All systems synchronized," Mirai confirmed, "ready to demonstrate our full capabilities. Quantum cores operating at peak efficiency. The metamaterial shell has fully reconfigured for combat operations." The human fleet now looked nothing like the worn collection of ships the Riken had mocked. Each vessel gleamed with power, their true forms a perfect blend of function and aesthetic beauty. Where there had been apparent decay, now there was perfection. Where there had been seeming weakness, now there was unmistakable strength. "Message from Supreme Commander Rith," Lieutenant Kim announced. He's requesting an explanation. His tone suggests he's struggling to process what he's seeing. Jinwoo nodded. "Open a channel." Full holographic projection. The communication system activated, but not in the simple way the Riken had seen before. A fully three-dimensional representation of the bridge appeared in the space between the fleets, showing the true sophistication of human technology. Jinwoo could see his counterpart's crystalline features shift with shock. What is this deception?" Rith demanded, though his voice had lost its earlier arrogance. "What are you?" "We are exactly what we have always been," Jinwoo replied. "A human fleet that learned long ago that true power lies not in displays of strength, but in wisdom and restraint." The Riken watched in stunned silence as more systems came online. Gravity manipulation fields became visible as subtle distortions in space. Energy shields that could shrug off the impact of a small moon shimmered into existence. Weapon systems that could target individual components on enemy ships without harming their crews emerged from their hiding places. "Battle computer online," Mirai reported. "Targeting systems active. We could disable their entire fleet with one synchronized strike if necessary." But Jinwoo had no intention of demonstrating that capability. The point was not to threaten, but to educate. Supreme Commander, he addressed Rith. What you see now is the technology we developed over centuries of independent exploration. We chose to hide it not out of fear, but because we learned that power often invites challenge, while apparent weakness encourages understanding. The Recon ships held their positions, their crews no doubt struggling to comprehend how thoroughly they had misjudged the situation. Their sensors would be showing them technology far beyond their own capabilities, hidden all this time behind a carefully crafted illusion. Your scans will now show you our true nature, Jinwu continued. The quantum cores that power our ships, the metamaterial coding that can adapt to any attack, the neural interfaces that connect our crews directly to their vessels. All of this was here when you first arrived, hidden beneath what you assumed was decay. Commander Park's console showed the Ryukan fleet's power signatures fluctuating as they struggled to maintain their defensive formation. Their sensors must have been overwhelmed trying to analyze the suddenly revealed technology. The rust you mocked, Jinwu explained, was actually an advanced metamaterial capable of absorbing and redirecting energy. The worn hull plates concealed defensive systems beyond your current understanding. The outdated weapons you detected were decoys, hiding capabilities we hope never to use in anger. Lieutenant Meira continued monitoring the transformation process. All ships now fully configured, Admiral. The Ryukan are attempting to scan our systems, but their sensors can't make sense of what they're seeing. It's too far beyond their current technology. Jinwu stepped forward, his image in the holographic projection moving with him. We reveal this now not to threaten, but to help you understand. Your assumption of superiority led you to make demands without truly understanding what you faced. Let this be a lesson in the danger of judging by appearances. The human fleet hung in space, their true power now fully visible. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, a testament to centuries of human innovation and development. The contrast between their current appearance and their earlier disguise could not have been more striking. The choice is now yours, Supreme Commander, Jinwu said quietly. We can either move forward with mutual respect and understanding, or you can continue to view us as inferior. But know that we will defend ourselves if necessary, with capabilities far beyond what we've shown you so far. The bridge crew waited silently as the Recon processed this revelation. Their entire worldview had been shaken, their assumptions about human technology proven catastrophically wrong. The lesson was clear. Appearances could be deceiving, and underestimating others based on their outward appearance was a dangerous mistake. The crystal ascendant hung motionless in space, its once proud crystalline hull now dimmed with the realization of defeat. Supreme Commander Rith stood on his bridge, watching the transformed human fleet with a mixture of awe and humility. The rust bucket ships he had mocked now revealed themselves as marvels of engineering that surpassed anything in the Recon Confederation. Admiral Jinwu's voice carried across the communication channels, calm and measured as always. We offer you peace, Supreme Commander. Let this be a moment of understanding between our peoples, not a cause for further conflict. The Recon fleet began their withdrawal, their formation careful and precise. They had learned the hard way that appearances could be deceiving, and the humans they had dismissed as primitive were anything but. In the days that followed, Ambassador Kim Do-yun met with the Ryukan leadership aboard a neutral station. The conference room was simple but elegant, much like the true nature of the human fleet they had hidden for so long. Our appearance of weakness was a choice, Do-yun explained to the assembled Ryukan delegates. We learned long ago that true strength lies not in intimidation, but in wisdom and restraint. Your people saw what you expected to see. A fleet of outdated ships barely maintaining their existence. Commander Rith, now speaking as a diplomat rather than a military leader, nodded slowly. We were blind to the truth. Our assumptions about technological advancement clouded our judgment. The story of the human fleet spread quickly through Recon space. The Rust Bucket Brigade became legendary, a force that had hidden its true nature for centuries, protecting their sector through clever deception rather than displays of power. Young recon officers studied the incident, learning valuable lessons about assumption and appearance. On the Eternal Dawn's bridge, Admiral Jinwoo recorded his final log entry about the encounter. His words were thoughtful, reflecting on the events that had changed the relationship between humans and Ryukun forever. Perhaps now they understand. He spoke into the log. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to survive and thrive while being underestimated. Our technology advanced not through conquest or intimidation, but through patience and wisdom. The human fleet resumed its patrol of the sector, but now they no longer needed to maintain their facade of age and decay. Their ships gleamed in the starlight, a testament to human ingenuity and strategic thinking. The metamaterial coating that had once mimicked rust now shifted with subtle patterns, displaying its true sophisticated nature. Lieutenant Kang Mi-rae established new protocols for interaction with other species, incorporating the lessons learned from the Riken encounter. "We don't need to hide anymore," she noted in her report, "but we shouldn't forget the value of humility and restraint." Chief Engineer Song Jeho spent days analyzing the data collected during the confrontation. "The Riken weapons actually helped us," he explained to his team. "Every attack they launched was converted into power for our systems. Their aggression literally made us stronger." Ambassador Du Yun continued her diplomatic mission, now working to build genuine understanding between humans and Ryukun. The conference rooms where she met with Ryukun delegates no longer needed to be dressed down to appear primitive. Instead, they showcased the elegant blend of form and function that characterized human engineering. "We maintained that illusion for 3 centuries, she explained during one session. "Not out of fear, but because we understood that true power lies in how you choose to use it. We could have displayed our advancement, demanded respect through force. Instead, we chose patience." The Riken Confederation revised their first contact protocols, incorporating lessons learned from their encounter with the human fleet. Their reports now emphasize the importance of looking beyond surface appearances and avoiding assumptions about technological capability. Throughout human space, the story served as a reminder of their ancestors' wisdom. The choice to appear weak while maintaining strength had protected them for generations, allowing them to develop their technology in peace while avoiding unnecessary conflicts. Commander Park Harry, reviewing the tactical data from the encounter, summarized it best in her report. "We never fired a shot in anger. We never destroyed a single ship. We demonstrated our power through protection and restraint, turning enemy weapons against themselves without causing harm. That is the true measure of advanced technology." Admiral Jinwoo watched from his bridge as the last Riken diplomatic vessel departed. The human fleet had taught a powerful lesson about judgment, assumption, and the true nature of strength. Their rust buckets had revealed themselves as some of the most advanced ships in known space, but more importantly, they had shown that true power lies not in the technology itself, but in how one chooses to use it. The sector returned to peace, but it was a different kind of peace now. One built on mutual understanding and respect, rather than assumptions and appearances. The human fleet continued its mission, protecting their space with wisdom and restraint, proving that sometimes the greatest victories come not from showing strength, but from knowing when to hide it. Thanks for experiencing this tale of human ingenuity and strategic thinking. May it remind us all that appearances can be deceiving, and true strength often lies beneath the surface.